I mean, it's been, we've been talking about weeks to come about how things are, the underpinnings. I keep describing it as, you're building this skyscraper on a really soft foundation and we don't know what's going to happen. This week, we've been starting to see kind of a pennant pattern forming in the S&P 500. We've been seeing a little bit of unpredictability, perhaps the hints at a reversal or maybe just a stall as we continue. It's kind of unknown right now, but these are kind of the uncertainties that we've been talking about.
Yeah, headlines this week were some inflation numbers that
Yeah,
seem to be in line. The consensus for a rate hike continues to increase,
I
and
got
I
that
feel like
right here.
we've got some chip love this morning. So a lot of the same storylines we've covered the past couple of weeks
Dude,
as
did you
we
hear that one about China wanting to investigate Nvidia for monopolies? That caused a little kick in the market earlier this week. That was interesting.
That's true, but but on the alternative Broadcom, I'm seeing a lot
Yeah.
of headlines on which is having the AI plays is kind of countering that. I see
Yeah.
that pulled up the consensus
Yeah, we
rate.
gotta. I mean, you gotta talk about the Fed. I don't think that the Fed sessions, and it may flip on us in the upcoming sessions, but we talked about over the summer where we finally hit kind of this stasis, right? For years, not years, but a couple of years, the Fed was totally focused on inflation, right? They were raising rates, and then we waited a whole year to see how that played through, and the whole discussion that for a good portion of our shows was inflation, inflation, inflation. But around the summer, the inflation versus the other mandate of the Fed, which is employment, right? Keeping people employed, started to like become another topic, right? That the Fed had to now discuss. When we look at the Fed meeting notes, what we would see is discussions now instead of just everybody all on board about what's happening with inflation. We're now at this balance point where the Fed is like, do we tweak rates one way or another? How's employment? There's, in their discussions that we read in the meeting minutes that are released a couple weeks after, there's actual debates happening. It's not just all consensus. Let's focus on inflation. So, with that said, the employment numbers from last week, we've got CPI this week, which you're right, didn't impress. Producers price index, right? Wholesale inflation kind of surprised people yesterday. It was a little bit higher than expected, and it was higher overall. Maybe it was just a 1 week abnormality. We all know that the Fed doesn't really pay attention to one data report. They've got their feet on a lot of things, but you'll notice that this number here, along with rising bond yields, this number last week we were looking at it, it was around something like, well, here it is. 1 week ago, it was at 85, 86%. Now it's at 97%. This Fed meeting is next week. It looks like there's going to be a quarter point rate drop.